Hello everybody, Manithral here, and welcome to the weekly update video for OSRS. Now this week we have a bigger project rebalance as the combat changes. So this week we have the NPC defense changes, which is actually rather quite large here. But up first we have the elemental weakness, and when it says when you factor in base magic damage, formula looks like this, which what they have it is the magic damage percentage plus elemental weakness percentage, and then you multiply that to get the base damage. So for an example here, for some information, like the adamant dragon, it has a 50% earth weakness. It is also vulnerable to dragon bone, and it has a poison resistance of 100% and a slayer monster. So that shows you, the weakness it has, and that you will get to be doing extra damage towards it. So, for the convenience, the enemies impacted by this change. The Bars brothers, Arahim, Derek, Kirill, Guthan, Torag, Varak, Aviances, including Krera and his minions, ghosts, and skeletons are all weakness to air. The water weakness is your chromatic dragons, which is green, blue, red, black. This includes the baby and brutal variants. Also includes the king black dragon, lava dragons, a variety of demons. This is the demonic gorillas, greater demons, hellhounds, including Cerberus, Akril Susaroth and his minions, and lesser demons, pyre fiends, fire giants, giant mole, and drakes. Earth weaknesses. The fallen NPCs have been given an elemental weakness to earth spells. Metal dragons, so you got bronze through rune, water fiends, and worms. And then you have fire weakness, which is spiders. Anything with the name ice in it, essentially. So ice trolls, ice demons, ice giants, ice fiends, ice warriors. Moss giants, mountain trolls, scarab swarms, scarab mages, Vespula, abyssal portal. The Nightmare's totems does say keep in mind that these have also take double damage from magic attacks generally, so you can expect to see some very high hit splats on those. Kefri and her arcane soldier, and spitting scarabs, and Zora. Now there is something to keep in mind about the elemental spell scaling. So for this reason, if you're max hit with an elemental spell, whether it's strike, bolt, blast, wave, and surge, will now scale to the highest level possible you have unlocked. For example, a player with level 5 magic has a max hit of 4 for both wind strike and water strike. Since water strike is a higher tier spell you have unlocked, that same player reaches the lofty heights of level 13 magic, then all of their elemental strike spells will have a max hit of 8. Since the highest level they spell now is Fire Strike. But note that no spell hits higher than their max hit. So if you have 99 magic, Fire Strike will still only have a max hit of 8. So you can't go beyond that, but that's where your cap is, basically. So if you're wondering how this affects the stuff like Tomes of Fire and Water, it'll be down here a little bit further. So there is range defense types. So range for defense for NPCs is split between 3 categories: light, standard, and heavy. These are based on the type of ammunition used as follows. Heavy consists of bolts and javelins. Standard is arrows. This includes the bow of Fardahinen and the crystal bow. Magic arrows are still arrows after all. Light is your darts, knives, and other thrown weaponry like the thrown axes or the Toxazil Ul. Although I'd like to say that the thrown axes should go up to the heavy, kind of like javelin. But this won't mean a significant shift in the gameplay, but it lets the target NPCs towards specific range style in the future. This is kind of shaping up like EOC, if you ask me. Or a ballista that's actually worth shooting at something. But alternatively, here's the top level of the summary of NPCs affected. Dragons have had their ranged heavy defense reduced. This applies to metallic and chromatic dragons, including the baby brutal variants, as well as the King Black Dragon and Lava Dragons. Commander Zilliana, Corporal Beast, and Gargoyles all have had their ranged heavy defense reduced. Lizardmen have had their light ranged defense reduced. Next and Vaso Mysterio has had heavy defense reduced. Vespula has had the light defense reduced. Vespila's Abyssal Portal, Skeletal Mystics, Basilisk Knights, Baba, and the Leviathan all have had their heavy defense reduced. So that is something to kind of keep in mind. Short term, these changes mostly improved the standings of the crossbow in places where they've been falling behind. Falling behind the bow of Verhinden and the Twisted Bow. So this brings them back up there a little bit because you'll be able to hit a little harder, a little easier. But on top of the set changes, they made a handful of minor changes, adjustments to existing melee defense on NPCs. Dragons across the board, with the exception of Warcath, have had their stab defense reduced. This includes drakes and worms, who aren't dragons but are draconic. Gargoyles have had their crush defense reduced and their stab and slash defenses increased. Lizardmen, including the brutes and shamans, have had their stab reduced. If you'd like to do that, still go ahead. Vesa and Mysterio has had their crush defense reduced. Skeletal Mystics, Basilisk Knights have had their crush defense reduced, and Duke Soculus has had his slash defense reduced. There is an item rebalance. So, magic damage redistribution. As you can see, there's 3 different categories here from the looks of it. You have your kind of your plain Jane in one category, and then you have the ancient slash, well, I want to call it ancient magics, and then you have your other. So it says, keep in mind that the set pieces for robes mean helm, body, legs, and slot items. Now here are the changes. So the occult necklace, magic damage reduced from 10% to 5%. Ancestral robe set piece, magic damage per piece increased from 2% to 3%. Virtus robe set pieces, magic damage per piece increased from 1% to 2%. The following items have had their magic damage per piece increase from 0 to 1%, which is the Infinity robes, Dagon High robes, Third Age Mage armor, Erhim's robes, Blue Moon armor, Elder Chaos Druid robes, and Bloodbark armor. Augury, magic damage while active is increased from 0 to 4%. Note that Temekan Shadow doesn't multiply accuracy or damage bonuses gained from prayers, so this would remain at a 4% increase rather than a 12% when using the Shadow. Mystic Might, magic damage when active is increased from 0 to 2%. Mystic Lore is increased from 0 to 1%. Eternal Boots has increased from 0 to 1%. Mage's Book has increased from 0 to 2%. Ancient Wyvern Shield has increased from 0 to 2%. Malediction's Ward has increased from 0 to 2%. Arcane Spirit Shield has increased from 0 to 3%. And Sears in the Sears Ring Eye, magic damage increased from 0 to 0.5%. And the Elite Void Mage Set bonus, magic damage increased from 2.5% to 5%. And that is all magic damage increased while either equipped or active. So depending on the circumstances with being prayer or not. Other item adjustments consist of Magic Gear isn't the only one. So various improvements to the Soul Reaper's Axe. Stacks will no longer be lost instantly upon switching the item. Stacks will start decrementing after 20 ticks, 12 seconds without attacking, up from 10 ticks, which is 6 seconds. When stacks naturally degrade, they'll heal you for the base damage you took while building those stacks up, so long as you still have the axe in your inventory. Added a special attack to the Elder Maul, which costs 50% of your special attack energy. Hits with plus 25% increased accuracy and reduce the target's defense by 35% of its current value on a successful hit. Most importantly, it looks cool. Inquisitor armor set pieces now provide a plus 2.5% accuracy and damage when worn alongside the Inquisitor's mace. Adjusted the Ancient Godsword special attack, so healing from a successful blood sacrifice now heals for 15% of the target's maximum HP up to a cap of 25 HP. The Tomes of Fire and Water now boost their respective elements by 10% against NPCs, down from 50%. They still boost their damage by 50% and 20% respectively against players. This change was intended to sit alongside the elemental weaknesses so that the tomes stand out as clear as the best in slot in their niche, but the strength of the standard spell no longer relies entirely on these helpful books. So it will help you, but it's just not entirely necessary. Miscellaneous combat adjacent changes. The Dragon Warhammer now drops at a 1 in 3,000, which is up from 1 in 5,000. The minimum hit has adjusted, so now if you pass the accuracy check, any damage rolls of 0 boosted up to 1. So this means if your max hit is 3, you can roll 1, 1, 2, or 3 for damage. Note that you're still able to guarantee zeros via splashing and failing every accuracy check. Added a Cursed Amulet of Magic drop rate of 1 in 5 from the Necromancer Southside Shazian. This amulet provides a minus negative 80% magic damage, useful from some niche scenarios where you might want to keep your damage as low as possible. Reduce the prayer drain from the Thick Skin, Burst of Strength, and Clarity of Thought, Sharp Eye, and Mystic Will from 5 to 1.67 points per minute. Effectively, they should drain at the third of the rate of the speed they used to. Sharp Eye and Burst of Strength now boost your range and strength by 1 level respectively if these levels are lower than 20. Note that these only apply to when calculating your max hit, so you won't notice a visible stat boost or anything to that effect. Attacking an NPC with autocast enabled no longer occurs an extra 0.6 seconds delay. This has been requested for absolute ages. All that's left now is to figure out what we're going to do with it. Adjusted the time or the path of the beacon to increase the hit points of the style-specific enemies inside the infamous monkey room, although they'll always take maximum damage from their opposing style. Note that each of these weak and strong variant, hence the 2 values of HP. Baboon Brawler, 25 HP and 30 HP, always max hit by magic. Baboon Thrower, 30 HP and 35 HP, always hit by melee, max hit by melee. Baboon Mage, 20 to 25 HP, always hit by max hit by ranged. None of these enemies in the Path of Mepkin will scale with the raid level or group size, so the hit point values you see here should be consistent in every single one of the Tombs of the Damascus run. This also applies to NPCs not listed above, like Volatile Baboons, Cursed Baboons, and Baboon Shamans, though you won't be guaranteed a max hit against those. Baba has had her Through Prayer damage reduced from 33% to 25% if she hits you while you're protecting from melee. Improved Fisoni's Nightmare drop rate, so any specific piece of Inquisitor armor now drops at a rate of 1 in 700, up from 1 in 1000. Any specific orb drop at a rate of is now a 1 in 1600, up from 1 in 3000. The Inquisitor Mace is now a drop rate of 1 in 1250, which is up from 2000. The Nightmare Staff is up from 1 in 533, which was 1 in 666.7. Improve the Nightmare drop rates too, so note that the drop rates in Nightmare scale at the values here only reflect the base rate for more info. There is a optional link here, but any piece of the Inquisitor armor now drops at a 1 in 420, up from 600. The orb drops at a rate of 1 in 960, up from 1 in 1800. The Inquisitor Mace is now 1 in 750, up from 1 in 1250. This seems very odd. I'm reading these numbers. The Nightmare staff is at a rate of 1 in 300, up from 1 in 400. Some of these are actually worse. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually necessarily worth it. Anyway, it's up to you to decide if you fight these. Avis device will now apply their ammo saving effects to javelins as they do for ammo types. That's it for that project for now. There is more to come. Other changes consist of, for the desert, the spell tablet lecterns in player-owned house now remembers the position of their scroll bar when closed and reopened. The genie random event has stopped referring to everyone as master and will use mistress when appropriate. The Varlamorian master and elite clue stash units now properly appear in the stash notice board. The Blood Moon's Jaguar HP sap no longer persists through teleports. This one can't technically kill you, but can be pretty harrowing in the hardcore setting. The RuneScape Kingdom board game shortlisted award. So if you've seen the video from yesterday for RS3, the UK Games Expo UKGE has put RuneScape Kingdoms as a best board game type game out. Potentially, because we can actually go on, we can vote, and if you don't have a UKGE account, you can make one. All the voting takes place on May 31st and will be ending. And 2nd of June, People's Choice will announce a winner at 3 p.m. BST on the 2nd of June. So, yeah, go ahead and go and vote. And I gotta admit, I actually really enjoy it. It's really cool. I didn't play it yet, but it is pretty cool. There's a lot to figure out. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. You get a lot of minis and you get a lot of other stuff. There's a lot going on here. A lot to learn in that game. PvP World Rhoda has moved to Period A, so that's 539 US PvP, 318 UK Bounty Hunter, 548 Germany High Risk PvP, 577 US Free to Play PvP, and 559 UK LMS Competitive. And World 390 AUS LMS Competitive has been activated this Rhoda, and 569 AUS Bounty Hunter has been deactivated with this Rhoda. The PvP arena is using the Zerker loadouts and ranked duels and tournaments this week. Alright guys, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, later guys.